I'm Jacob Harris.
And I'm Connor Walsh.
And this is All or Nothing, episode 12, I believe. And today we're going to talk about Gary Breckas. I'm not actually that familiar with this guy. I've just heard some wild things. And Connor has just informed me about probably one of the wildest things. Because...
Which, there's a lot of wild things that Gary Breckas says, so...
There's a lot of strange stuff. But this one, I feel like we don't need a... it's a 4-minute video, but he seems to be basically talking about B12 and saying...
The synthetic form of B12. Well, they both show up at your house, and they both give you a gift. Only on the way out, the methylcobalamin takes out your trash. It actually lowers inflammation and leaves the cell by taking the trash out and actually giving you a benefit. Cyanocobalamin shows up and gives you a gift, and on the way out, steals your watches and your jewelry and robs you of the cash in your safe and steals all your silverware and throws it in the trunk of your car.
Such an extensive, metaphor.
Yeah.
It's a thief in the night. You invite it into the cell, and when it leaves, it takes vital nutrients that you need to perform optimally. I wonder what else they can use cyanocobalamin in besides children's vitamins. Well, one of the things that we use it in, because hydrogen cyanide is a highly toxic conjugate acid of cyanide that is used as a chemical weapon agent. That's right. We use it in chemical weapons and children's vitamins.
Two completely different compounds.
Vitamin in your medicine cabinet, or you've got a multivitamin that contains this, you should be looking at our gene-based nutrition line.
Of course it came
Yeah,
back
I've got
to...
something to sell.
Yeah, it's like a sales
I have
point.
my gene-based test to sell you.
I just love the fact that there's a bunch of dudes sitting around testing children's vitamins, and they're like, you know what this needs more of? We need more cyanide in this.
More cyanide.
It's just not... for me, I'm... What's the end goal of, putting it in there too? Is there some conspiracy that...
Kill the children.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the benefit of putting it in there would be, because couldn't they just make the supplement without that and still say it's effective? Wouldn't you still be getting B12 in? Why would
Yep.
you need to put cyanide in it?
So what he's effectively referring to is there are different forms of different vitamins that some are made in a lab, like methyl cyan, whatever, whatever. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And there are slight variations made to the initial, whatever it is, vitamin B12 or whatever. In this case, we're talking about vitamin B12. And there's slight chemical structures that are changed to make them either more easily producible or whatnot. And he's effectively referring, so one of the base chemicals for the methyl cyanolamine or whatever the fuck is, it's similar to a derivative of cyanide. But once you change one molecule on something, it's a completely different compound. Just because it has similarities doesn't mean that once one molecule is changed that it's still the same compound. It's now a completely different compound.
Would there be children dropping dead everywhere?
Yeah, 100% would be children dropping dead everywhere.
Yeah, on the supplements, the supplement.
100%. Yeah, that's the conspiracy. If you kill all the children, then adults won't get sick.
I've seen other people complaining about this in other things as well, like cyanide was in something called Celsius as well. Is it the same sort of
Same thing. I'm pretty sure that was actually a great Gary Breckas video that started all that Celsius has 12 times the maximum legal amount of cyanide or whatever in it, and it's just referring to cyanocobalamin or whatever it is. It's the synthetic form of B12, which is too much of a tongue twister for me to say right now.
I don't know if I've got this right, but there was a thing a couple years ago that I'm pretty sure some company tried to fuck with 3 or 4 different fitness influencers, and they decided that they were going to create some product. This podcast is sponsored by Achievement Apex. Achievement Apex creates some of the best barbells in the world, and they supply some of these barbells to some of the strongest power lifters and athletes in the world. If you want an Achievement Apex barbell, you can go to achievementApex.com and use the code PORTAPOTTY for 10% off any order that you make. That actually had cyanide in it, and it might have been this same sort of situation, but I think that they were actually trying to put a decent amount in it from memory, and they were basically saying that if they could get these fitness influencers to market it, and it it was like the most hilarious name ever. It was called Sayonara. It just made me like, I'll have to look into it. I wish like I might even Google it because I remember it being a thing, and they like almost essentially tricked these people into like promoting it, even though they knew what was in it. But like it might have just been coming off the back of this.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it was obviously a bit of a thing. Like we talked about before, like taurine's super popular at the moment. And maybe it was just in that circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that, to be honest with you, was the funniest name for it as well. Like, but I don't know if it's just me. Can anyone else think of cyanide without I just immediately think of Hitler all the time, or just Germany in general. I don't know why to me. So like to me, even when people mention, because apples, is it apples as well?
Yeah.
Apples have cyanide in them.
I believe so, yeah.
But it's like such a small amount or something. But it's like the same thing. As soon as I think of it, like it's hilarious because then you've got things like when people say like an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and it's funny how these things all like come about. And I wonder where that actually saying that it comes from.
Got no idea.
Maybe it's related to cyanide.
Probably Gary Breckas.
Probably Gary Breckas. Like there's got to be. It's called sayonara. It says it's therapeutic potential, health benefits. So they actually had it's a dried leaf glycerite or something. It's literally a bunch of like Hawaiian farm natural herb supplement. I don't know what any of this means. I don't actually know what that is. I feel like if I look into it further, I'll find out. But that seems very vague, and it just looks like it just doesn't even really look like a proper supplement. It looks like maybe like a herbal one or something.
Yep.
So it's probably along the same line of like people freaking out about B12, which is an interesting one. Like, so he's saying it's in children. Is he saying it's in all B12 supplements or only?
I think he's just referring to all B12. B12 is occasionally fortified in foods, and I presume the main form of fortified B12 is going to be the cheap synthetic form, which is cyanocobalamin. I think he's just used kids there as a bit of like I don't know, just to make it kind of hit a little bit harder rather than just saying adult vitamins, go after the kids and we'll come after you harder kind of deal. I think that's all he's really going for. But yeah, it's used it's probably your most common form of vitamin B12 in anything that contains vitamin B12. Whether it be through fortification or, a vitamin B12 or multivitamin supplement or anything like that.
So, and then he went on to talk about the gene testing thing, which I know you're not a fan of either. Like, what's the go with that?
Look, I'm not necessarily not a fan of the gene testing. He's obviously just trying to sell you a product, so he's creating all these problems that inevitably have this same answer, which is to go buy his gene test to find out that whether you methylate well or not. There is minimal evidence supporting most of gene testing, or at least minimal that is actually like able to be quantified and do anything with. There is definitely promise in gene testing, but it's certainly not got the same kind of medical literature that backs it up, like say blood work does. If you're interested to find how your B vitamin status is, and how your ability to methylate is, a much more proven and long-standing metric that you can check is called homocysteine, which is available in a blood test. If you have high levels of homocysteine, you're most likely not methylating, you're just not going through methylation well, or you have a lack of B vitamins in your diet. There are a few other things that could impact it, like glutathione production. But that is probably the best way that you could go about finding out if methylated B vitamins are actually going to be something that is beneficial for you with an actual proven marker rather than just some kind of new gene test that has very little concrete evidence to actually kind of back up the claims that have been made as a result of the tests.
He's been working with people like Steve Harvey and like Dana White and
that's
shit like that.
how he's done it. It's just,
but what do you reckon it's like them? This podcast is sponsored by Power Pit Rockingham, and Power Pit Rockingham is probably the best gym for you to train in if you are in Rockingham and want access to quality powerlifting equipment and a good environment to train in when it comes to powerlifting training or bodybuilding training. If you are in the area and want to do so, pop on down to Power Pit Rockingham, jump in for a casual session and tell them that the Porta Potty sent you. Is it like a placebo thing for them or something where they really feel like there's a massive difference? Or do you think they're just changing so many variables that like they're attributing it to like such a small factor? Like they're just eating healthier, but then they're like, oh, I feel so much better because of this supplement.
Or someone's getting paid.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one example within the powerlifting and strongman community, which I'll probably just leave unnamed. But like, there's one big coach that is coaching someone else that maybe some people can put two and two together, but I think most of us know that he's not actually coaching said athlete.
Ooh, okay, but just says that he is.
Yeah. I almost guarantee you that there's paid partnerships that are going on there to promote Gary Breckas.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. What do you think about, while we're on it, because one of the other things that gets promoted a bit, I was mentioning to you this before because of sponsors for podcasts and stuff like that. Why can't I think of it right now? AG Greens.
Yep.
You on that?
I'm not on that.
No, not a fan?
I'm indifferent. It's a greens product. It's a multivitamin. I personally like Life Extension's multivitamin product. It's extremely well dosed across the board, covers all your basic nutrients, has a few extras in there at good doses, which are important ones that I typically like to see incorporated, such as chromium.
Do you think that AG Greens are what Andrew Huberman enjoys every single day for breakfast, and so he decided to passionately promote their product through his podcast? Or do you think there's a possible situation where he may be getting financially compensated to promote a product that he doesn't necessarily completely align with personally?
The latter. Yeah, definitely the latter.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm not completely shitting on it. It's not like necessarily a nothing supplement. It certainly doesn't replace whole foods. And just like I mentioned prior, I'm all for multivitamins and supplementing in to ensure that you're covering all your bases. But
that being said,
AG Greens.
This podcast is sponsored by AG Greens.
But AG Greens, we do still have a price.
Absolutely.
And it's nowhere near as high as you might think. Give us a couple bucks and we'll be straight on.
It's honestly way lower than it should be.
Yeah, way lower.
But just
in fact, you pay for our lunch afterwards and you're on.
Yeah, as long as the lunch is whole foods, so that when I consume your dog shit product, I can still actually get the vitamins and minerals that I need.
Exactly.
So I need to make sure that I'm still absorbing something.
Yeah.
I don't actually have a huge problem with greens powders either, in terms of like I just kind of ignore them, and I'm sure that AG Greens is keeping someone alive somewhere.
Yep.
We talked about Gary Breckas, and this is like about him, but I kind of wouldn't mind, like, because we're on this roll, we might as well touch on this other guy I actually wanted to as well, is Brian, the fucking guy, man, the life.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who's
the
trying
vampire,
to stay, he's trying to stay 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting guy.
Hats off to him. At least he's
Trying
to do something, and it'd probably lead to innovation. I think there's obviously some interesting aspects to it, but
Do you think you can reverse your insides that well? Do you think you could really become 18 again? Not you, but like a 40-year-old?
I don't think we have the technology to do it now, but I'm also not in the longevity field at all. So I do see it being maybe possible if you have enough money down, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years time from now.
Have you ever thought about kicking your missus out of the bed so you could get more optimal sleep?
No. No.
But you could be, right?
But if she's not no.
But this is what I mean, right? You're sleeping with animals, sleeping with other people. You need to sleep in the correct temperature. I think he has 100 pills a day.
Who is human?
No, the Brian guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man, yeah.
He has about 100 a day.
Yeah, man, it's about what I do a day. So.
100?
Yeah, I'd say 80 or 90. I probably think I'm just shy of 100. But I'll count for you tonight if you want. I'll get back to you.
If you could count for me, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because that's absolutely wild, and I can only imagine the trace cyanide that you're consuming.
So much cyanide.
I can imagine so much. Yeah, but like, I just find it interesting the longevity kind of like greens, like recovery, like this world that people live in, and Gary's, I guess, are part of it too with the whole DNA. I think it's just. I feel like some people are so focused on like staying alive, they're not really too focused on being alive.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude, do you even really want to be alive in fucking 20 years if like all you're doing is focusing on trying to stay alive? I don't know. It just seems kind of like a bit weird, or like, mate, I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time living in the present mentally, so I can't really judge other people. I'm just saying it seems a bit strange. And Gary Brecker, to me, I didn't look into much of what he was doing. He has been on Joe Rogan though.
He's been all over the place.
Yeah.
He very wrongfully has been highlighted as some kind of guru that just lies.
This podcast is sponsored by Bulk Gym Chalk. Do you struggle to hold onto your deadlifts? If so, it can be very important to make sure that you have good quality chalk and access to that chalk. So go to Bulk Gym Chalk. You can find them on Instagram and get yourself some good quality chalk so that you can make sure that you can train in the gym and get the best out of your training while doing so. Yeah.
No, just straight up lies about a bunch of shit that he said. There's been... I don't know. He's one of those people that like just pissed me off on social media, so I just tried to completely shut him out. But there's been so many dumb things that he's said over the last 12 months where I've just like hit my head with a phone kind of deal. It's like, fuck.
Do you reckon the results that Steve Harvey got back from the test that he did with Gary actually were the wrong ones? He'd actually just opened the wrong envelope. Do you understand that reference?
I don't.
He did it to Miss America. Gabe gets it. In Miss America, he read the wrong envelope, and now I've explained it, and it's not as funny, but I reckon that's what happened. I reckon Steve Harvey actually has dog shit results, and Gary Breckas' methods were fucked, but he just opened the wrong envelope.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting you.
Yeah. But then Dana White. But then I feel like Dana White's the last dude. If like he turned to me and was like, "Man, this guy is so good," I'd be like, "Not going to take your advice at all."
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know what I mean? Dana was at one point all coked up and slapping his missus, so maybe the Gary Brecker stuff really, maybe helped him. Maybe helped him. But man, I'll have to look more into his stuff because it feels wrong to do an episode on him. But like, I suppose even focusing on those two things has given me a pretty big like insight into obviously what he's about. And
2.1 million followers on Instagram.
2.1 million people that think
some people actually regard this guy as like up there for health information and advice, which is the scariest thing, to be honest.
There's plenty of them out there. Hopefully, when you see me and Connor next time, we present the podcast sponsored by AG Greens, and we can do DNA tests for you. And when I will plug semen retention and ice baths and yoga. I'm trying to think of what other things. Taurine. What else is popular?
I mean, saunas are massive.
Keep your cortisol low no matter what situation, even if you're being attacked by a bear.
Yep. It's just ashwagandha, that shit.
Ashwagandha.
No time for cortisol.
Turkestrone. What's the other one? What's
echidisterone or whatever.
I don't know that one. That's another one. That's what's fucking Tonkat Ali. It's not complete shit.
Doshio agrestis or whatever.
Yeah, man, we're missing some. What's some of the other stuff? There's got to be some. Gary Brecker would be able to list them all right now. I'm trying to think. What else is there out there? Oh, hold on a second. I feel like there's another.
I mean, Gary Brecker would be all over the methylfolate and methylated B vitamins.
Yep. At what point do you just drink your own piss? I feel like. What do you think about the health benefits of that? Or do you think that's, people talk about the fact that they can piss out their vitamins and then they didn't assimilate them the first time, they can drink them.
Yeah.
You think there's merit to that?
Oh, I mean, it's not wrong, I guess. You do excrete excess water-soluble vitamins through your urine, so...
I can tell you right now, if anyone's piss is worth buying in a jar, it's my man right here. Because Connor's having 85 pills a fucking day. There's no way he's absorbing all that shit.
No chance.
100%. What would you go? Like, let's say 500 mil. 500 mil of piss. What's your price? Just if there's people out there.
I'll have to go through my supplement stack and kind of figure out the costs of that piss in the first place.
Like per piss? You'd have to work out the price?
Back to you, yeah.
Yeah.
Got to do some calculations. It's got to be at least a 200% markup, though, on my supplement prices. So.
Well, it's quality piss. This is no kind of like...
This is a one-stop shop. I take like 85 pills. You're only having to drink one glass of piss.
Yeah, see? This ain't no dehydrated Bear Grylls piss. This is high quality...
This is dehydrated Gary Brecker piss.
AG green level quality piss.
Yes.
Look, man, I feel like there's going to be a level that we're going to get to, and I'm so excited to see what happens in the next 10 years because I cannot believe what I see on the internet half the time.
Honestly, just on that, and this has actually gotten some promise, but fecal biome transplants are a thing. Have you heard about that?
Are we talking about poo?
like giving people other people's shit to enhance their microbiome of their stomach
How do they get the shit?
from other people, from donors.
Oh no, do you
No, this is actually a medical practice that they're doing in certain cases now.
do you transplant someone else's shit into
shit.
your bowels?
No, you have a tablet with their shit in it. Yeah.
Oh, you have a tablet. I thought you were like shitting out their shit. And
No,
I was like, oh, that's pretty
someone's
wild.
shitting out their shit. They're donating it, and then it is being made into a consumable form, and people are consuming it.
This reminds me of this is
And this
Connor's not going to remember.
This is real with real medical practice. Actually, it's actually showing promise. But this is where
That's
we're at.
fucking wild to me. I'm going to put a
saving
clip
lives.
after Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. If anyone's seen that movie, they're going to lose it at the scene that I'm going to play after this. But this is, I don't know, man. I thought the piss thing was pretty extreme.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually supposedly saving lives. So this is a bit above my head, but
Saving lives.
yeah, there's a.
You're shitting me.
I'm shitting you. I'm shitting in a cup and drinking it. There is.
Wait, you're drinking the shit? You know what it
Well,
is?
it depends. It's the fucking erythritol, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say you have a Jim Bod fucking ice cream and a Fro pizza first.
Goes
and
down easier.
Just be like a thick shake, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A thick shake of good vitamins.
Yep.
I reckon you blend it with the piss, and then you'll be the healthiest person on the planet.
For sure.
Yeah,
And super anabolic if it's mine as well. Fail a few drug tests, but you'll be healthy and jacked.
that's fucking wild. I don't even I don't understand. So you've got to take it from someone who's healthy shit.
Yeah.
How do you test their shit to
That's
make sure
one
it's
of the
good?
problems with how it's kind of is the consistency of the donor. But they've
The
done
consistency of the shit isn't the problem.
well, the consistency. Well, yeah, there's shit and the donor. No, there's actually been studies done on taking feces. I believe it was in rats from obese female humans and planting them in normal weight rats, and then being able to actually observe an increase in body weight, whether that be.
This podcast is sponsored by PedTest Australia. If you plan on using or are currently using performance-enhancing drugs, it is very important that you make sure you are doing so, having them been tested before you use them or while you are using them, to make sure that you take care of your health. And you can also recommend that the people around you do so as well. Go to PedTest Australia on Instagram to find out more about the details on how you can test your current performance-enhancing drugs that you are using, or you can find out more about testing other compounds or things that you are putting in your body if you would like to make sure that you take care of your health.
The underlying mechanisms are unknown, but
So why did hold on a second, the people that they took it from had to be fat?
so they've done studies there. So in human use, there have actually been there's one particular, I guess, bacteria that forms in your gut, which if it left overrun can actually kill you. And transplanting, and I don't know the names of these, but transplanting a bacteria from someone else's feces. There's a certain other bacteria that you can get from feces, which you've transplanted into the person, via a shit tablet, is able to kind of provide enough of that other diversity in the microbiomes to allow that your stomach is then able to kind of kill off that unwanted bacteria and get back to like a normal homeostasis. So
Would you do it?
I mean, if I was going to die and I had a fucking choice to either eat a shit or die, then I'd probably give it a crack. Yeah.
Yeah, well, normally I believe the phrase is eat shit and die. So
Eat shit and die.
We're going to change that.
Eat shit and or die.
Eat shit and or die. I've got to, dude, you know that I've got to title this podcast now like
I gave you your clickbait, buddy.
Gary Breckas, shit transplant, piss smoothies. I've got to come up with something wild. Look, if I was going to die, maybe I would too. But to me, I'd want it to be good quality shit. I'd want it to be the best quality shit. Like,
Choose your donor.
man, right? I'd want to
out
be
of
like
the
they're in like
sauce.
it's like Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
They line up, and I'm like, I want that fucking shit. I want his
You
shit.
get
You know what I
7
mean?
cups. You got to just
I don't know if the smell would the smell really do it though. It's
next.
No, you know what I want? I reckon you'd need a sample of each, and you'd have to mush it in your hands. You'd have to know the texture.
Been eating a fiber. No fiber.
You'd be like, I felt like that crumbled a bit too easy. This one went straight through. This one's warmer than the other one.
Pick this one up. This one's full of erythritol.
Yeah, dude, you can't even pick that. It's just a pile of water. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I guess most people are probably thinking at this point, I listen to this podcast to get nutrition and exercise information. And now I'm hearing people talk about ingesting other people's shit. But we didn't bring it up. The studies brought it up.
The studies brought it up.
We're simply talking about it.
I mean, it is some really, like, if you dive into it, there's some very interesting research on it. As I started kind of going off before, they've actually done studies of transplanting feces from obese and weight normal people or people into rats, and then observing that these rats then end up changing whatever their body composition is to favour that of the microbiome that the shit has been originally donated from. So taking a normal weight rat, giving them feces from an obese person, and then the rat then starts becoming obese. Now, they're unsure as to the underlying mechanisms, whether this is behavioural changes or whether there's actually some way that the microbiome is changing kind of the way your body's able to assimilate the calories. But nevertheless, quite interesting that it's been able to show a kind of pretty clear link between microbiome and body weight.
I'm going to get some shirts made up.
I mean, instead of Ozempic, instead of your GLP-1s, next year it's shit pills. Just get a skinny person, eat their shit, you're good to go.
I'm going to get shirts made up, and it's going to say fat chicks and rat shit. That's it, right? And that's going to be the shirt all the way down there. And people are going to be like, hey, what's that about? It's going to be like, funny you asked that. Because we've got a brand, we're selling poo. Do you want to be the healthiest you've ever been in your life? Because my man right here can take a shit and you can absorb it, and he's got piss he'll sell you. And then I feel like at this point they're either going to run away or they're already pay passing. We'll carry around like a permanent thing where they can just pay pass, and maybe we do like a shit piss bundle.
Yeah.
Would you be open to that?
I'll be open to that, yeah.
Dude, I actually think we might have really come along something here. Like, this is one of those moments. Like, you remember when they came up with remember when Steve Jobs created Apple?
We just did it.
This is like maybe where it's it. Except we're going to shit out the apple and then you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
You know? So we're pretty much killing it. There's nothing else to say. AG Greens.
We don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
We've got our own product.
Or we'll, if we do need you, give it to us. We'll convert it to the shit. You can get
We'll call it AG Browns.
Nice. My man's onto it. All right. Thank you for listening to this disgusting episode. I'm Jacob Harris.
I'm Connor Walsh.